I just saw that one.
It's fine. Anyway, space is always a fun place to escape to.
It's fine. It's fine. It's all good. Everything's
It's all good.
okay. It's
Everything's
all
okay.
okay.
Nothing's on fire.
Nothing's on fire. Everyone loves everybody. Oh,
Oh god. Speaking of loving and loving everybody, I just had the most lovely visit to the US of A.
you did
The
indeed.
first half,
I was
first half of the
there.
visit, not great. I will say not so lovely because unfortunately I had COVID.
Huh.
Um, so I was stuck in a hotel for a week. But worse things have happened. But the second half really was lovely um, because I got to visit you
I was
in
there. I
person.
was there for the second
You
half.
were
It
there.
was me. It was me. I was the guy you saw. Oh, it was nice. It was very nice.
It was very, very nice.
Yep.
It was
Javi
it
came
was so
by and
much fun.
visited the San Francisco Bay Area, which is the Bay Area next to San Francisco, for those who don't know.
Yes, which is a
Yeah.
massive area that, as I discovered, has like its own micro weather systems. Like you go from neighborhood to neighborhood,
Yep.
and it's just like, oh, okay, we are inside a cloud right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a little bit
That's
funny.
that's the Bay Area for you. Yep. 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 And one night for dinner, we met at a place called Jupiter Pizza. Jupiter Pizza, which is great.
Yeah, I don't know if, I mean, at least on my end, it wasn't intentional. I mean, this is a well-known pizza place in the Berkeley area,
Uh-huh.
near UC Berkeley, which I was also visiting during that trip.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like it's wild that you can go to this place next to a university with a famous astronomy department that's named after a planet and often has like unique beers and other beverages that are named after space related things. There was a
Right.
wonderful beer that I tried there a while back called Quasar.
Ooh.
Yeah, which I didn't have this time, and I was very sad.
Oh. And the pizzas there also have unique names too, like the Io and the Mercury and there's a few others. What is
I think
there's the
Callisto.
Gaia. There's a
There was a
couple of
Gaia. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, yeah, they're very much leaning into the space theme. And I guess that kind of got us wondering while we were sitting there,
Hmm.
chomping down on our delicious grub. Um, what other places are there that are named after space?
Yep.
And what are the common ones? What are the less common ones?
Hmm.
So, which you might be able to guess, but no spoilers. We'll get there. Um, let's dive in, Benjamin. What did you find as kind of the biggest you know place that's named after something spacey or a planet?
Biggest, I don't know, but the deepest one I read into is Uranus. That's right, Uranus. That's proper pronunciation. Missouri. Uh, but you love having those controls. Um, we were at Jupiter Pizza. We're having some spacey themed foods and drinks, and then we're
Mhm.
wondering if we could do a show about places on Earth named after places in space. And of course, I thought up my favorite thing that I found online is Uranus, Missouri, which is home of the Uranus Fudge Factory. Um, and that just sold us on the idea of doing this episode of places on Earth named after places in space because that's incredibly funny. There is this small town in Missouri, which happens to be named Uranus. I'm going to say it the right way. And
Thank you.
some entrepreneurial young folk who love chocolates and candy. They thought we're going to bank on this name and we will make the Uranus Fudge Factory. And it is this incredibly fun roadside tourist attraction. And their online videos, if you've seen them, are hysterical. You have A-list celebrities making the journey and posting on their own social media that they made it out to Uranus, Missouri for some well-packed fudge, and it's the funniest thing, and it's incredible how a simple name could just boost your brand.
And this was this a place that existed? Like, was it created for the sake of this joke?
Uranus, Missouri existed, just like there are many other towns across my country, anyway, that are named after various locations in space. And some folks thought, what would be funny if we opened up a fudge factory here? And they were right.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
I love how meme culture has seeped so deeply into, multiple generations that an entire business can exist just for the sake of a joke. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
But it works. It works.
It works.
And,
Nice. I feel like the
go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I feel like you'd imagine somewhere like Florida or near Cape Canaveral would probably have a bunch of space related places, right?
Yeah. Hold on one second. I'm going to edit this out.
Can I make a celebrity appearance if you're editing
Oh,
it out?
what?
Can I make a celebrity appearance if you're editing it out?
Go ahead. Come make a celebrity appearance. We don't have a guest.
I'm the celebrity. I'm the guest.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh,
I
hey.
needed the keys that he
That's
had in
okay.
his pocket.
Welcome to the show. How do you feel being famous?
I'm famous now.
Welcome.
Saying
Maybe
stuff.
I'm not going to edit you out. Maybe I'll put you in the show.
Follow Benjamin, Salas, and Kovi. What's your last name? Rose.
Rose.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Kavi. Rose.
It's on the screen.
Via. Maybe I won't come back. Where were we?
We were talking about Jupiter, Florida. Or
Yes,
there is a Jupiter, Florida. Right?
There is a Jupiter, Florida. And why is it named Jupiter, Florida?
Because it's in Cape Canaveral, or there was a mission to Jupiter launched near there.
Nope.
I have no idea.
Nothing to do with Cape Canaveral or NASA or anything of the sort. It's
Really?
just the very happy end result of a chain of misspellings, starting from the Hobe sound, Hobe sound, which got eventually misspelled to Job, Jobe, to Jove sound, and Jove, jovial, to Jupiter. And now we have Jupiter, Florida, thanks to a series of misspellings. It's pretty much locked in now. Fun side note.
So funny.
A nearby town is Juno Beach. So Juno is currently going around Jupiter, the satellite Juno. And there just so happens to be a town called Juno next to the city of Jupiter.
Amazing.
I love how that works out.
I was sure that it was intentional, but I guess not. Happy misspellings.
Happy misspellings.
It reminds me of the what was it? It was like a near-Earth object or a dwarf planet called Zuzvi or Zuzuvi.
Mm-hmm.
That all because of the way that it was misprinted on a little diagram of the solar system in somebody's kid's bedroom. This near-Earth object was renamed. I think there was a whole Radio Lab episode about it.
Right, there was. It was great. There was, just as Kavi said, there's a kid's book, and they meant to write the proper name of an asteroid in the book, and I think it was a combination problem with a misspelling and a font that made it look like it was completely wacky, and so that's what the name stuck since then.
Right, it was like
I think it was like 2002 something
Yeah.
something, but
Yeah,
the
like
two
2002
look like
VE
a
or something like
Z.
that.
Yeah, so now it's Zeus V or something like that. It's the best.
It's
It's
great.
great. It's fun things like this. So you can let
Yes.
that slide, but we can't make Pluto a planet anymore. So that makes sense to me. That's fair. That's
Makes
fair.
sense. I have found that Jupiter is one of the more common
Hmm.
names that I was able to find of, towns or street names that were named after planets or space related things. So Jupiter, most of the inner planets were fairly common,
Hmm.
but Uranus and Pluto were extremely rare.
Yeah. Not
Extremely
not
rare.
not not too many of them. There is a Pluto, Mississippi, uh, where the township there strongly supports that Pluto is still a planet. I'm
The
sure they
number
have
one.
no sway whatsoever. But
No.
if you have a whole town to vote some resolution, something, maybe people will listen. Excuse me. You have the Neptune Township of New Jersey,
Ooh.
right? Which also includes Neptune Beach, which is part of Neptune City, hence the Neptune Township. So they went
Huh.
full Neptune. Lots of Mars hills, lots of Marses, lots of
Mars
Jupiters.
yeah.
Um,
I did find a single Jupiter road. Sorry, not Jupiter road, Uranus road here in Australia, actually.
oh, you did?
And yeah. So Jupiter Road in Padstow, it's less than half an hour drive from me. It's practically around the corner.
Oh, okay.
So
Speaking of something
when you
that's
come
over
visit,
there and that we have here, when Kavi was here, after we had that Jupiter pizza, the next day we visited my locale, Half Moon Bay,
Mhm.
and it got its name because it's a crescent-shaped little inlet bay shaped thing. So it's Half Moon Bay. And as we're driving through, Kavi mentioned, what does he have there in Australia? His own Half Moon Bay. And he said it looks exactly the same as ours. So I think there's like some kind of weird dimensional rift somewhere where there's just one Half Moon Bay, but the portals to it are here.
I, to be fair, I've never seen both Half Moon Bays in the same place at the same time. So
And if you put them together, it's just Moon Bay.
it's just Moon Lake. At that point, it becomes a
Moon
closed
Lake.
body
That's
of
right. It's
water.
enclosed. ah, what else we got? We got a few more other or a whole few more, a whole bunch more stuff. We have
Oh yeah.
Star, Idaho. Just the name of Star. The reason it got its name is because there was a star-shaped sign on top of a local schoolhouse that helped guide travelers to the town in the 1800s.
Huh.
And that was one of the brightest things you could see from very, very far away. So the town just embraced the name, named themselves after that sign on that schoolhouse, called themselves Star. And now there's a total space vibe. If that just kind of permeates the shops and stores there in Star, Idaho, if you ever go.
I thought you were going to say that it was like another misspelling that it was right on the border of Idaho, and it used to be called like Start Idaho, like this is where Idaho begins, and then it just evolved from Start to Star, and then they lent into the various stellar connotations.
Oh my God, we got a whole bunch.
Oh yeah, what else you got?
Let's see. Let's go some fun ones here. Well, if you're not sure if you're on Earth, then I recommend visiting Earth, Texas, the town in Texas called Earth. Founded in the 1920s, it's a small farming community. It
Mhm.
originally wanted to be called Tulsa, but there was already a Tulsa in Texas. So the
They're like, what
story
do we name
goes,
this piece of Earth?
the postmaster suggested that you just call it Earth to reflect the earth that the farmers uh, plant their crops in there. And the name stuck. Fun little side fact: to this day, the people who live in Earth, Texas, they refer to themselves as Earthlings, and it's stuck. It's stuck. I was from San Francisco, and we were San Franciscans. These people are from Earth. They are Earthlings. Huzzah!
Do you know what they call people from Melbourne, where I grew up?
Friendly?
That's true, yeah. They also call them Melburnians.
Melburnians.
And you'll never guess what they call people from Sydney, where I live at the moment.
Sit elbows.
You're close. You're so close, but also so far. Sydney
Sydney?
Siders.
Sydney ciders?
Yeah.
Okay. If you're just gonna throw some arbitrary syllables at the end of the city name, just make it
Yeah.
as good as the any other.
I don't know. I didn't come up with it. Don't blame me.
Okay. We also have a town in Minnesota called Cosmos. Cosmos, Minnesota.
Mm.
Originally settled in the 1870s, Cosmos didn't get its celestial name until 1926, when yet another postmaster, inspired by his love for astronomy, simply proposed calling it Cosmos. And he also renamed local roads after planets. I guess they just gave him free range to do whatever he wanted, and they turned
Yeah,
the
it
town
sounds like it.
into a very quiet, space-themed little city. And to this day, Cosmos hosts an annual space festival, complete with parades, costumes, and stargazing at the night.
Huh.
Sounds like a fun place to hang.
What's the I was trying to like find the biggest population in a place that was named after something spacey. So I found that like Jupiter, Florida was around 65,000 rather.
Okay.
Neptune Township, that you were talking about in Jersey, is about 28,000. Mars, Pennsylvania, about 1,500 people. How many people live in Cosmos? Is that like a fairly small town, I imagine?
I have no idea. Let's see. I can find out what happened. What we got there? We got a huge population there. It is
Yeah?
massive. Yes,
Oh, wow.
it is massive. I hope one of the 499 residents of Cosmos, Minnesota in Meeker County tune in and listen to our show.
Oh, I hope so. Damn. Okay, I thought I had the smallest space town because I don't know if you know this. The Southern Cross constellation, also known as Crux, is a very culturally popular, culturally significant constellation in Australia. So it's the constellation that's on the Australian flag and also the New Zealand flag, if I'm not mistaken. And so there's a town in Western Australia with like 700 people, and the town's called Southern Cross. I think about that and I compare it to Southern Cross Station, which is one of the larger train stations that we have here in Australia. And imagine that there are probably more people who work in that train station than there are who live in the town, let alone the number of people who pass through every day.
That's funny. That's handy. Wow. I should find train stations. Okay. I have a few. No, I don't have any train stations on my list.
No train stations.
No, I have streets.
I think that might be the only one. It's one of the main train stations in Melbourne. I don't know if there are other train stations in Sydney that maybe there are a lot of astronomically named towns around Siding Springs. So there's a massive observatory in Siding Springs, Australia. And so near the observatory, I think a lot of the little towns and neighborhoods and streets are named after space things. I don't think there's a big. I don't think there's a big station or anything near there. Maybe a bus stop. Best you're gonna get.
I can't find anything on my streets. I had them. I can't find them. Yeah, well,
Nothing.
figured. Oh, here we go. Let's see. In Sacramento, California, we have Io Circle, which is
Ooh,
named after the moon of Jupiter. We have Europa Street in Tracy, California, and we have Titan Road in Las Vegas. If you guys
part of
want
me
to,
just went.
any of our listeners want to go out there and send us a photo of them with one of these signs, I will send you a friggin' T-shirt.
Oh yeah, if you can get out there and send us a photo of yourself with one of these signs, we will send you swag.
Go to Quasar Street in Bakersfield, California, or Galaxy Avenue in Orange Park, Florida, or Nebula Street, also in Sacramento. Hello, Sacramento.
And for any of our Australian listeners, if you make it out to Uranus Road and send us a selfie before I do, I will personally come and hand deliver you a T-shirt.
Oh my gosh. Space Village Avenue in El Paso. People.
So many options.
So many options. Lots of stuff. People just love naming things about places that are not here.
Anywhere but here.
Anywhere but here. Anywhere but here.
That seems to be the theme.
Lately. Yeah.
I wonder if there are any places that like have both a space related name, but then we're in like a movie about space, or
I have
like
a list of places you can go to where famous sci-fi locations from movies were filmed.
Yeah, what you got?
Well, of course, starting with the best, right out the gate, Star Wars, 1977. A lot of Tatooine, the desert scenes, as we all know, were filmed in Tunisia. But when R2-D2 and C-3PO are wandering around, that was right here in Death Valley, California.
Really?
All right. Yeah.
Huh.
Nice. In 2012, Prometheus. In 2015, The Martian. In 2021, Dune. If you're looking for Mars, the surface of Mars, or if you're looking for the dunes of Arrakis,
oh yeah,
might I suggest Wadi Rum in Jordan?
Oh yeah.
They were both. I mean, that was what one place was used for all those movies because it just has an otherworldly, deserty feel.
Wadi Rum, right? Yeah. I feel like that is in the direction of Petra, right?
I wouldn't be surprised because that's also a huge movie situation.
They filmed a lot of movies there. It's crazy geology and geography over there. Okay, cool. Yeah. What else we got?
Too many Star Trek films and episodes to mention were filmed in Vasquez Rocks, California. And if you want to narrow it down, it was also used for Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey and for Galaxy Quest. And there's clearly anyone who knows Galaxy Quest has to know what scene we're talking about.
I'm just picturing the scene from like the original Star Trek TV show of a fight with a really like lizard-looking alien where he
that
just
was
picks
Captain
up a
Kirk's
massive
battle with the Gorn, and that is exactly what is the example being given for Vasquez Rocks, California. That's exactly where that happened.
I can picture it. Yeah. Love it.
Mm-hmm. You can go to the Millennium Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles, where they filmed Blade Runner, The Terminator, and Ghostbusters, all within 2 years of each other, 1982 to 1984. It's a still active hotel, so if you want, you can go there and just have a drink where these wonderful sci-fi films were shot.
What's so special about this particular hotel that makes it appropriate for so much sci-fi?
Well, that's the ballroom scene where the Ghostbusters destroyed the ballroom to catch a ghost. That's where Decker went for a drink, I think, in Blade Runner, Harrison Ford's character.
Interesting.
Yeah. You can go to see the ice planet from the movie Interstellar. I'm going to say it very poorly because this is in Iceland, but the Jakul Sarlon,
Sure.
JOKUS. I can't even say the letters. JOKULSARIO. No, ARLON. Jakul Sarlon. I said it right. Jakul Sarlon Glacier Lagoon.
It's a big glacier in Iceland.
A big glacier lagoon in Iceland. That's where they filmed Interstellar. That's where they filmed Batman Begins with Christian Bale. And I'm not going to mention the other movie because it sucked. Then Contact, Space Cowboys, all filmed on White Sands National Park, New Mexico.
And also, I think Contact was filmed in part in Death Valley at the Owens Valley Observatory, and also in Socorro, New Mexico, right? At the Very Large Array. I think they filmed
at
part
the Very Large Array. Also, this filmed a little bit at Arecibo.
Oh,
at the beginning, I believe. And that's where I think that's where they lost their funding or something like that. Doesn't matter anymore because Arecibo's gone.
Sadly, yes. Yeah, it's interesting how much people are keen to make space a part of their kind of culture and lifestyle and cinema, and then often don't necessarily want to actually include the research that is behind it as a priority. But that's a separate issue.
It's a separate issue for which I have notes.
For people who have never had the pleasure of seeing when Benjamin, when I say notes, I have like a couple of tabs open and like 3 lines scribbled on a yellow sticky note. When Benjamin says notes, he has like a Google sheet with multiple tabs going, 50, 60 lines deep, and it's referenced, it's organized. Got little icons next to each thing. It's incredibly organized. So yeah, if this man says he has notes, he has notes.
Can you please tell someone to give me an honorary degree so I can just tell my mom I'm a doctor for my notes? She'll be very happy. Talking about places and communities and cultures that make science, or science fiction at least, a part of the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Roswell, New Mexico. I've been there.
Oh.
I've been there.
And lived to tell the tale.
I lived to tell the tale. It became quite legendary after the supposed 1947 UFO crash that happened there. Officially, it was a weather balloon, but we'll never know. But I've been there myself. If you ever make it out to Roswell, this is crazy. This little town. It's a small town with old-timey kind of street fronts to their shops and stores and little restaurants, whatever. They have these somewhat old-timey lampposts down the main street that have like the big bulbous glass on the top, and they're all of them painted all the way down to look like aliens with the big alien stereotypical eyes. And every shop you go to, even if it is not, there are a great many sci-fi shops that also little green men and stuff like this. And even if you go to a shop or restaurant that is not part of the alien hysteria. They still have a few little alien trinkets for you to buy, and it is just hysterical. And a fun thing about Roswell when I visited is everything closes early and the lights dim because
Oh,
they appreciate the night sky.
that's good. That's really nice. Not enough places do that. Um,
Right.
my brain is kind of stuck on this idea, this image of like every storefront, every business is leaning into this so hard that like you go into the doctor's office and the doctor gives you some bad news. And he's like, I'm really sorry, but you only have 6 months to live. And then just like, behind him on the wall, you have like these like green-headed alien
I
figures or
believe.
something. It's just, I want to believe. Can't take anybody seriously.
Nope.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I would love to make it down there on a future trip to the US.
Roswell is really nothing much to see at all. If you get there in the middle of the day, it's worth the stop for a snack, a little stroll, take off. There's really
That's it.
not much there. It's very, 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 very small. But they have a UFO museum that's quite popular with visitors. I don't know what artifacts they have in there. But here's a blurry photo of the alien. Here's a blurry photo of that autopsy with that guy. Here's a piece of metal. We don't know where it's from. We think
Oh god.
it says
I
Pepsi. We think it's some alien language.
I have to say I've been only recently watching X-Files like properly from the start,
Oh
episode by
wow.
episode. I never watched it when I was younger, like maybe an episode here or there. And I get it now. I understand why you have a generation of people who are so obsessed with UFO conspiracies and the alien stuff. It like for me as an astronomer, as an astrophysicist, I'm there, I'm watching it, I'm thinking, okay, well, like this is a cool idea. And then about 30 seconds into the episode, you're like, okay, so like this is nonsense, but you suspend your disbelief the same way that you would when you're watching most things. It's fiction. Hopefully
Yeah.
it's well written. You can enjoy it. You're not thinking about how true it is or isn't. But that's like for me, for somebody who I've spent nearly a decade learning this stuff. I feel like if you're going into that show and you don't have that background experience, it makes perfect sense that you just be like, oh, question everything. Question everything. Oh my God. Sorry for sidetracking the
No,
conversation,
no,
but
no, no.
yes.
That's good. Speaking of X Files,
Yes.
Green Bank, West Virginia.
That's
Green
where
Bank,
the Greenback
Green Bank,
telescope
West
is.
Virginia is deep in the National Radio Quiet Zone.
Yes.
Town is home to the world's largest steerable radio telescope. Cell phones and Wi-Fi are largely banned in this area because
Sure.
they don't want to create interference. Locals often joke that they're looking for aliens, and lots of people that make the trek out there do so because they believe that Green Bank, West Virginia, is actually hiding aliens. And it was very prominent in many episodes of the X Files.
Huh. I must not have gotten up to those episodes yet. But I will say that, yeah, I mean, Arecibo, um, Green Bank, I guess like any large enough or sensitive enough telescope could have a role to play in looking for
Absolutely.
signals detected from beyond Earth. Um, yeah, I've never got a chance to use Green Bank. I know a lot of folks who have. It's a massive and extremely impressive piece of technology. And if you do have a visit, please, yeah, keep your phone off. Do not
Really?
mess with the radio astronomers. Or if you have a microwave with you, also keep it switched off and unplugged.
Hmm. The
Are
people, the
you?
astronomers that work with that facility, are that are on site, are they in some sort of like super shielded bunker or something that doesn't interfere?
Um, for the most part, when you visit these radio telescope sites, you have to switch off your phone while you're there. And generally, so I know that folks who go to the VLA in New Mexico every year or so, they host this great workshop, where you take your laptop, you learn how to process the data that's coming from the telescope. And you go there, and even your laptop, you're not using Wi-Fi. You are connecting to an Ethernet cable, hardline internet, because they do not want any radio signal coming from a phone, a Wi-Fi router, anything. Because you don't want to be freaking out thinking, I found a crazy signal. Must be aliens, must be aliens. And it's just, Jeff has decided to open the microwave before the timer finished.
Well, that makes me wonder. Seeing all the radio telescopes in movies and TV shows for that dramatic shot, they're always lit up from underneath red. That's not how they actually operate. They don't need to have lights on them. That's they're gathering light from outside. They don't need to have lights shown on them.
Yeah,
wouldn't that interfere with it?
No, I think that if you have like a red optical light underneath or nearby a radio telescope, it's not going to interfere because it's a different wavelength. But either way, I could see that being used as kind of like a safety thing. If you have people, staff, technicians moving around, they need to know where the telescopes are so they don't accidentally run into them or something like that. But I've not seen those lights myself, so I'm just kind of speculating. But it wouldn't interfere with the telescope itself.
Okay.
What is interesting in terms of place names, going back to our theme for today, is the Parkes telescope, which is also a very, very large steerable single dish radio telescope here in Australia. So Parkes is also known as Muriang. In Australia, we've given Indigenous names to, or not we've given, but in collaboration and in a concerted effort with Indigenous and First Nations peoples, we have agreed on an Indigenous name to go along with the English name for a lot of these instruments. So with ASCAP, the radio telescope, we refer to it as Inyarimana Ilgari Bundara, that observatory. But with Parkes, it's known as Muriang. And I love Muriang because it means sky world. It's an Indigenous Wiradjuri word that means sky world. And I feel like that's just perfect.
Sky world. Muriang?
Yeah. Muriang. Yeah. Murriyang. Also, as a fun side note, when you want to observe with the Parkes telescope, you log onto a web portal and you have a file that you're kind of loading up to tell the telescope where to look and for how long and what settings, etc. That website is called Dagu, which is also a Wiradjuri word that means where to. So it's, where do you want the telescope to be looking? Where do you want, which part of the sky world do you want to be exploring?
Wow.
Which I've always found really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Still like the Star World one better. That's awesome. That's more awesomer.
More awesomer.
More awesomer.
Yes. All right, what else we got?
So many. We have Rocket, Texas. Rockett.
Oh, Rocket.
Well, not ETTE, just ETT.
Well, is it French? Is it named after lettuce? What's going on here?
Rocket was named after John Rocket. It was a settler in the area a long time ago, and the town's name predates the space age by over a century.
Huh.
But because of the name, and I think it's not too far from Houston, it became a curiosity for anyone passing through. And they have lots of local shops that the locals have leaned into, so they have to sell a lot of little rocket ship type doodads and whatnots and street signs. And to have some
What?
space-themed community events.
So I have to ask, what do people from Rocket call themselves?
I hope they call themselves Rockettes.
Ooh, that's not what I was.
Or if they're cool, Rocketeers. That would be.
I was thinking Rocket Man.
Well,
Rocket Man.
Rocket people.
Rocket people. Yes. Yeah,
In,
that Elton John song needs to be rewritten.
Nah, it's fine. Leave Elton alone.
Rocket people. Yeah.
Rocket
Doesn't quite
folks.
work.
That's one syllable. Rocket folk.
Rocket
Yeah, it
folks.
works, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I will.
We
I will
have
type up an email.
Orion, Illinois, named in the 1850s after, on purpose, the Orion constellation.
Nice.
Chosen by settlers who were actually educated people, and they wanted to give their new home a very aspirational name. And at the time, it was common to name places after celestial references anyway, so they chose a constellation.
Cool.
Sometimes Orion is nicknamed the Town of Stars, and that's
Nice.
where locals go to watch meteor showers when they come.
You know what I feel like I would be remiss in if we didn't mention, and I know it's not a town, but the car company Subaru.
Ah, yes,
I feel like that deserves a mention in this episode, right?
absolutely.
So Subaru, I guess, is probably my Australian pronunciation. I think the Japanese pronunciation is Subaru. And that is the Japanese name for the constellation or the star cluster of Pleiades. And if you look at the logo of, yes, the Seven Sisters, and there's some fantastic Indigenous Australian storytelling about the mythology of the Seven Sisters and their interactions with Orion, because Orion was the hunter who was chasing the Seven Sisters. There's a really, really cool story, in fact, about how one of the stars in the Pleiades is a variable star that modern astronomers didn't know about until, well, that astronomers didn't know about until modern times. However, as part of millennia old stories that are passed on from generation to generation in Australian Indigenous communities, it was known that, there was this whole story about one of the Seven Sisters getting, bursting into a fiery rage to defend the other six sisters against Orion the hunter, and she would flare up and get really bright and angry, and basically their cultural stories already knew that one of the stars was a variable star that would pulsate.
That they couldn't have possibly seen.
That they, I guess if you're living in outback communities that have little to no light pollution and you're monitoring these with like really sensitive eyes over thousands of years, maybe you'll notice. But there was no actual telescope data that, no astronomer knew that was a thing for thousands of years. Anyway, that was just a fun tangent. But yes, so Pleiades,
Great.
Subaru. If you look at the next Subaru that you happen to see driving down the street, or if you want to Google what the company's logo looks like, you will notice the Seven Sisters, seven stars of the Pleiades on the Subaru logo.
I remember when you first told me that, that's all I saw. Just when I'm driving. Subaru, Subaru, Subaru. Look at the stars.
The other one that gets me now, that I notice all the time, is the Nissan Pulsar. Every time I see a Pulsar, I'm like, wow, a Pulsar, or a neutron star, right before my very eyes. I love it. All right, maybe we can do one more and then wrap it up.
Sure. Here's a fun one. In Missouri, there's a town called Eclipse. This tiny community, now almost completely gone, took its name from the late 1800s when there was a visible solar eclipse.
Huh.
So during this time, they saw this, celestial phenomenon where something you name things after. So they named their town Eclipse. And the fun part about Eclipse, Missouri is that it was in the path of totality in 2017 and again in 2024. So you could actually go
Nice.
to Eclipse to see an eclipse. Eclipse, Missouri. How about
Very
that?
cool.
Very, very cool.
Nice. I'm guessing there's no place named Syzygy.
No, but we have a. Oh, my fellow Californians are going to get me if I get this wrong. Zizix. We have a Zizix off one of the, if you take.
What is a Zizix?
Jeez Louise. If you drive south from here heading towards LA, I don't know if it's off Interstate 5 or 280. I think it's off the 5. There is one exit called Zizix. ZZYZX or something like that. And there's a fun story to the name of it. But take that exit, and you're in the middle of frickin' nowhere. It's desert, and you go and you go and you go, and you take this dusty dirt road, and it looks like one of those dusty dirt roads in the middle of the desert that the mobsters are going to bury you in from the movies. And then you keep going, and then all of a sudden, it's this lined by palm trees on both sides, and it takes you to this little type of resort that some Victorian era doctor set up because there's something there that helps cure you of all your ailments, so you need to go to this resort and drink their water and breathe their air because blah, whatever nonsense. But it's this really cool little hidden little pocket of just something. Zizix.
Yeah, this is my new favorite place.
Zizix. Yeah.
Love that. In the middle of the Mojave Desert, huh?
Yeah. One last thing, if you go to San Francisco, and this Kovi mentioned all the little microclimates. San Francisco proper is a little 7-mile by 7-mile square tip of a peninsula, and it's pocketed with little valleys and little hills that are very tall in some areas, hence little microclimates. If you climb to one of the top of the hills where there's a neighborhood, as you drive down any street anywhere, there's, no U-turn signs, pedestrian crossing signs, stop signs, yield signs. But on this one hill in San Francisco, I think it's the top of Nob Hill, actually. There's a nice big yellow caution sign that says "Watch out, UFOs!" And it's an official city sign. It's metal, it's yellow, it's a diamond, and it has a black icon of a circular disc UFO with rays coming down and a person kind of going up. San Francisco, everybody.
Love it. I love it. I feel like there are definitely more that we missed. I would love for people, if folks are listening to this or watching this and think, hang on, you missed Beetlejuice Road around the corner from me, or you missed the Mars pizza place in my hometown. Let us know.
Yeah, send us a picture.
Send us a picture. Send us a message, and especially if anybody can make it out to Uranus Road and send us a selfie, we will send you a T-shirt.
Yes.
Some swag.
Get out to Fudge Pack in Uranus, and we'll see if we can get a shirt to you.
I really feel like fudge now. I don't know why. Benjamin, where can the good people find you if they want to learn more?
as per usual, please everyone go follow Science Actually on Facebook. We're also on Instagram and the other ones, the LinkedIn. We got things and on the ticking and the talking and the YouTubings. We are
Yes,
there, especially if
that's
you want to
true.
see Kavi and my faces doing this show. How about you, Kavi? Where can the good people find you?
You can find me occasionally lurking at Fun Fact Science on the various social media time wasting platforms. Um, Hit us up. Let us know what content you want to see, what guests you want to see. We're going to be, I've been promising this for a while, but we will very soon be putting out an open call, little Google form if folks want to suggest guests for us. I know that we have just begun to scratch the surface of
Mhm.
non-astronomy related guests. We've
Yes,
had
we
some good
have.
ones. We've got more good ones coming up for you
Mhm.
soon, but we'd be happy to take suggestions. So keep your eyes peeled, keep your eyeballs peeled, keep looking out, and we will see you next time.